nervous at all. And we want to really thank Juliet Holly. Julie? I mean, really, well, so romantic. A heart. It has to be Juliet. No, but really for loaning us this music while we were all talking so much. That was so great. But most of all, I want to thank and praise, if I could, Andrea Watson, who had a dream and step by step made her dream come true. And her dream was fine poetry, beautifully done. And she has accomplished it with every book she's put out. So let us praise and clap and applaud Andrea Watson.
Bienvenidos, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I always say that the Taos audience holds everyone who reads here in the palm of their hands. In my heart of hearts, I know that Larry Schreiber is smiling down on us tonight, and he's so proud of that. When our acquisitions editor, Veronica Golos, first insisted that I look at the poems in the manuscript of the Mistress, I recognized Catherine Strisik's name because she has lived here and been active in the New Mexico poetry community for over 30 years. The poems immediately stirred me. They are first and foremost love poems, their texture arising from the experience of a long and passionate marriage. And then enters the Mistress, Parkinson's. 3, A Taos Press focuses on poetry that documents life with intelligence and courage. Our books are about what it means to be human. We encourage our readers to get close to the difficult. I like to say, and I really think without any hesitation, we are fearless. Each book that we publish is themed. For example, our last 3 books, Rootwork by Veronica Golos, The Ledger Book by William S. Barnes, and now The Mistress, illuminate history, both universal and private. We reach for the highest level of art, both in the poetry and in the book itself. We remain true to the beauty of the word and the beauty of the work. In The Mistress, Catherine Strisik has framed her book in one of the most imaginative techniques employed in poetry, persona or mask. In her poems, the disease speaks as the mistress. The medication chants. Even Kilimanjaro sighs. The craft displayed throughout this book takes these haunting poems to the very edge. Indeed, the book pushes us to ask ourselves, how would we bear this pain, this love, and ultimately this loss? And now, Catherine Strisik, reading from her new and second book, The Mistress.
Being from Massachusetts, we say, this is wicked. Oh my God. Thank you. Clearly this reading is dedicated to my husband, Larry. The Mistress Speaks, August 2008. She has seen me. I stop his arm from swinging as he walks in summer on Cape Ann. I push his hope of love-making. Oh, he feels good. But she sees me stiffen him, and then whatever saviors she and he might have been for each other, they are about to be no longer. He does not say aloud what I whisper in his ear. Parkinson's. Rather, rotator cuff is bothering me. My possession. They cannot know that when he inhaled the insecticide 30 years earlier, I'd now be his. I am the best kept secret until she sees me. No one is crawling on their knees just yet. It will be months before I bring them down. Dopamine agonist, Parkinson's in chunk form. When did the whispering begin? Which hour did the mistress entertain her lips embracing the microphone would be so seductive and odd to the listener who cannot remove his eyes from her breath, those magenta and swollen lips? The listener, damp with abundant dopamine, rearranges his shirt for the invitation, does not think of a cool rock to lay his cheek upon. The mistress gleams with sweat, wipes her neck. In the lapse between public words, the private matters. I love you, whispered into the canals of the listener's body. How every sound hints, how each undraped phrase bargains. The listener shudders, lured by her curve. Now, the whispers say seduction, and she cannot let go her whisper, the listener, all sheer affliction. Deaths occurred outside my window the morning I was slanted by the universe in another direction. Dear mourning doves, I bury your bodies in the compost pile. I speak first to the larger of you, now disfigured in afterlife, fine white and gray feathers close. I say, here is my dream for you to dream. Here is my iris and my thigh, and for the smaller of you, neck contorted far to the right, your one remaining eye bulging as if filled with your mate. I say, longing, beginning with a coup. I don't want to write about your tendons stretched, your unpretty beaks, resins under my poor towel, how my mouth becomes weak and salted, why I did not hear your end-of-life screech, how being a dove also means the earth is windswept with magenta language. The wife, his Parkinson's. She says, an inarticulated waltz haunts deep within his mid-brain. In tongues, there is terrible light. He says he loves her, clavicle, her ankles, their mirroring textures asymmetric with a comma. She holds binoculars. His nerve cells already starved when she notices the inarticulation, his arm not swinging now. Their waltz reveals gestures depletion of dopamine, plus grace, plus tiptoes, plus another Tai Chi pose. The horse already has galloped. Everywhere this haunt seizes him, black substance slowed, degeneration in his not so quiet tremor. clearly and inarticulated trembling during and after this untimely waltz and taunt. The taint catches their breath. How's your... He never grows tired of this, his rounding inarticulate breath between their pillows. Puccini is not obliterated yet. Violins in their faces. Say God without spitting. The mistress' heart is bitter, does not beat like mine, like this. Songbird, 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 each day of this Thanksgiving. The mistress says, place all mirrors face down. The mistress beats, raven, raven, raven. Even the neighbors draw their blinds. I kneel by the 5 a.m. oven, watch the turkey's skin, startling saint just above the horizon, those less than guarded souls like sizzle and spit. She is not so beautiful. I try to keep my attention out the window, across the snow meadow, to the side of the mountain where I posed the day before for the iPhone picture. Then she utters hunger. I beg for mercy. Mon amour, mon amour, mon amour. Side effect. At breakfast at LAX, I said, what? And then I said, what? What are you talking about? Our plates of eggs already ugly, the waitress refilling our mugs. Then there were some mumblings like, this is the dark night of our souls, this us, who now appeared complex, aimless, bigger than who we remembered we were. Dried yolk on your chin. And I smiled as if I just walked into plate glass. Before we were 3, 2007. We make love before dinner and after we shower because later it is late and we are tired. The need to sleep in a bed with Egyptian cotton sheets and a comforter swollen and clean. We dance in the hallways. He smells like I imagine nighttime Adam might smell, and I smell like his hair and the skin close to his armpit when we lie without moving, and he wears his unlaced shoes. I'm giving away our secret. This next poem, a very early sign of Parkinson's disease that goes unnoticed is the loss of the sense of smell. And it can be undetected as, you might not even notice. Anyway, it can be up to 15 years before a diagnosis is even made of the disease. And we really struggled with that once we realized that there was this loss and what that would mean to our passionate relationship. And I address this loss in a few of, I think 3 or 4 of the poems in the book. because it became, it's almost incomprehensible to think that somebody can't smell you. I wasn't familiar with anything like that before, and so it's, anyway, so this is one of the poems that came from that. Your loss comes on like grief. My grief comes on like longing. Even the mud smells good, I say, and you say, yes, yes, along the San Cristobal Creek, where we drop to our knees, sanctuary and brilliance of soft afternoon glow, where I breathe the scent of mud, where you breathe, my set of wet eyes that perhaps your eyes see, neither of us paying attention to the song loud in my heart and yours. The mud smells good, glee swelling my flesh. Please, breathe me in. Unexpected desire for you upon my lips, an hour's reflection of creek flow during early spring. Open, somehow quiet in its appetite. I am a scentless woman to you and to her too. That the mud smells good, that I want you to say, I remember. Hotel Belvedere, and the wife whispers, I am afraid here in our bed, where your right foot and toes tingle with nerve pain, where we do not sleep close anymore, where we do not sleep often anymore, the November moon one night away from full, choking me, the moon far from ordinary, radiating its sureness. Even so, I am capable of music. I hear Kathy, smooth and as startled as nakedness startles even myself when discovered between floral sheets, when the moon this month makes us pay attention in a way we do not ordinarily, nakedness that you do not during the night feel because we are 3 poems away from each other. Believe me, please, when I say there is nothing here in my shadow, there is everything. Your nerve endings hurt even my heart. Tell me, do you hear my brokenness as the wife, your Parkinson's urges? Here at Hotel Belvedere, where we try to sleep together again, she's here, undisguised, quietless, trembling, and your toes, you say, burn. I hear triangular moan. Tell me that you love in this darkness of our bed that has become my light in bed, where I lie with the 2 full moon and a stranger. I'll tell you now, this is me touching her. These years of sharing you with your mistress, her petty, low-grade way of bodily encounters with the 2 of us, the translucent laced curtains billowing in and out because even in November I sleep opened, bound, you might say, with the mistress, I say, who is to blame for this night's audience. And if I understand the concerto, the highest key that aches, I might tell you why this audience applauds. He says, "I'm sorry." Who will gather this woman? You can see almost through, crooked in bone, the sex of soundness. Who will gather her in hands certain and not unlike devotion in a curve of afternoon haunted nakedness where smoke rises? Heaven in its olive, the whole flesh, solace, the hips, the chant, the hands hold, pull into. Who will gather in this hiding place, the barefoot body, the unstrung pearls? The Mistress Speaks, 2014. She sees me. She sees us. I stop as she touches me. She touches us. Arm from swinging. I push there. I push hope of love, and then whatever saviors. Everyone is crawling on their knees. She says aloud my name to everyone, what I've whispered in his ear, Parkinson's. Everyone is crawling on their knees. I possess, there's no stopping me. His pills on the floor, his fatigue, they know I am his, yet she, who is this she? Her face covered by her hands. She's wary and she smiles, touches me. He allows her to touch us. He allows me to touch her. We are the best kept in his mind. Before we were 3, 2001. I remember reverence. I've licked the skin. Did you taste salt? Did you think he was softened with oil? I did taste salt. There was no oil. Will you breathe? Will you dream with him? I also breathed him in with scents of anise and licorice root. I dream the body I love. Thank you. We're going to have a book signing back there. And, questions and answers, that's right. I will answer maybe. Does anybody have any questions?
How long did the Parkinson's take? How long were you writing?
Oh, the Mistress, the book. I started about 4 years into his diagnosis, so that would have been like about 2012. So I spent about 4 years writing the book, and prior to that, I was keeping a journal of everything that was going on, and I referred back to that for some of the poems. Anybody else?
Yes.
You can't speak?
We need a minute.
Oh. Lisa?
Kathy, you've really developed your own style in writing this book. Could you speak a little bit about that? Because I really think that it's unique. Do you agree?
Now, this is from a very scholarly poet in the room, so I have to... What inspired me to write a lot of the poems in persona, with, through the voice of other, was I was really cracking. I went out to Christ in the Desert Monastery in Abiquiu. I took a bunch of poetry books with me, and I lined them up along the floor, and just kept looking at them. And then I pulled out Patricia Smith's book. Oh my goodness, I just forgot the name of it. The Blood Dazzler. And so many of those poems are written in, the whole book is persona, and that was the impetus for me to start this book, because I didn't know how to write these poems because the situation was so emotionally painful for all the family, for Larry and I, for the children, everybody. And so, to enter into this book through the voice of others was successful early on. And so developing my own style. Thank you, Lisa. I don't know, I feel like I kind of borrowed from some masters. Thanks. Yeah.
I have a question. There are about 4 different rhythms that you use. How did they evolve?
Well, first of all, I worked with David Perez, and he helped me tremendously with my voice. I was screaming at the ceiling. We were jogging next to each other. It was fabulous. But besides that, I know there are numerous voices. There are different tones in the book, or different rhythms in the book, and some of it had to do with my frame of mind. If I felt like when I was in a more manic, if something really uncomfortable was going on because of medications, then I would enter into my own kind of mania. And that's where a lot of the more frantic poems came from, was my own survival. And truly, some of the poems in this book came out of a very old manuscript that I was able to heighten the language and move the poems forward into this book in this time in my life, because they already had kind of an angst about them. Any more? Oh, yes, Nancy.
Don't answer this if it feels too personal to you. Along in the process and beginning to write this in persona, were you able to share how much of the writing and the feelings and the reasons you were writing were you able to share with Larry?
Oh, Larry knew every poem in this book. He saw early versions. Sometimes that's not so great to let someone see the earliest versions. Because you're still trying to work it out yourself, and then it's like, no, let me see your poems. And anyway, but yeah, Larry knew this whole book. He never saw it in book form, but he knew this manuscript. He read it numerous times. He'd seen the blurbs. He knew what the cover was. So he was very happy.
So he understood the Mistress.
He understood it. Yes.
He would.
Gary.
Can you read at least one more?
Viagra.
What?
Viagra.
What'd you say?
Viagra. Is that not in it?
Viagra.
What do you believe that about the drawer? After the drawer, his comb.
Oh, that's not in the
It's not in
book.
it?
No. Gary, you want me to read one more poem?
Yeah, please.
Oh, please. No, the one is, oh my gosh, what am I going to read? Let me see.
There's a question though.
Yes. Oh, who's there? Oh, John.
Did you have trouble censoring yourself while you were trying to write these poems? And how did you overcome that?
Yeah, the poem, one of the poems I read tonight, Side Effect, was quite, had a lot of swearing in it, the initial version of that. And it stayed that way for a very long time until probably, well, I don't know, Andrea and I have worked together for 2 years on the book, putting the book together from the time she accepted it for publication. But I would say up until, I don't know, 7 or 8 months ago, I was still changing some of the language. I was pulling it back because it didn't seem as essential to the poems or the book anymore, because the book was becoming so strong without any kind of needling with language. So I could pull back language that maybe was in early, free writings. So, does that answer that? Yes? Kind of?
Kathy, were you writing poetry in high school or post-high school? Did this come to you a bit later, or has it always been a part of your...
I used to copy lines of poems down, but I wasn't really, I was writing things, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was reading like Rod McEwen or somebody.
I did too.
No, I know, I think a lot of us did. And no, it was really, college I studied some, but it wasn't really until I moved here and I started going to writing groups. So I was, it was back in the early 80s.
Are you having some sort of a workshop or something coming up?
I am. December 10th, I'm having a workshop at Somos, and anyway, it will be really fun.
Sign up, people.
Tiffany has signed up, and somebody else maybe who's back there. Marvin.
Kathy, what kind of cathartic effect did writing this book have?
Well, I think the fact that Larry shared in the experience of knowing these poems was very cathartic for me. And this reading actually it's another letting go, because it's, there's the build-up, and then, so this is just really wonderful, so thank you. Are there any more questions? Gary Moody back there is a fabulous poet from Santa Fe who promotes like crazy. He wants me to read another poem. But which one? Let's see. Oh. I've read this one publicly, but I'm going to read it again. Call out my name. When all the lovers of the world open, there are so many hands, even the sculptors exhale. But first, let's expand with shirts unbuttoned. Oh wicked, oh hollow, oh Jesus and Mary. The doves fly above and through and around. Let's name lover with one breast bared. When all the lovers of the world open their hands, and there are so many lovers, if I felt sorry for ignorance, if I felt ignorance, if I felt on this Sabbath, white, unused hands offer harness and flame. Who never called my name? Call out my name, call out my name with spirals I utter, a weight beside the river that cannot be moved, but I beg anyway, pull me. Here in the valley, where I am vocabulary in perfect thunderstorm, my juggler god, beads of sweat, the gust. When all the lovers of the world open there, the desired destination being where lilies color every leaf beyond green, being the lover's openness in that moment, in that taken in.
It's over.